Bread is one of the oldest and most widely consumed foods in human history. For thousands of years, people have baked bread using simple ingredients: flour, water, and time. Across cultures and countries, bread appears in many forms, but its role remains the same. It is a source of energy, comfort, and familiarity. For many people, bread is part of daily life, from breakfast in the morning to dinner in the evening. Despite how common bread is, we usually think of it only as food. Rarely do we stop to consider how complex bread actually is inside. I begin by showing the bread as we normally see it before preparing a very small sample and examine it under a microscope. I begin by showing the bread as we normally see it before preparing a very small sample. The sample is tiny, almost invisible to the naked eye, yet it holds the entire internal structure of the bread. Once placed on a microscope slide, this small fragment becomes a gateway to a hidden world that exists inside something completely familiar. What feels simple on the surface often reveals unexpected complexity when viewed up close. At 80 times magnification, the bread sample immediately loses its familiar appearance. Instead of a solid piece, the structure looks light, uneven, and highly porous. Large translucent areas alternate with denser regions, creating a pattern similar to foam or a sponge. These rounded and irregular shapes represent the spaces where air and gas were trapped during fermentation and baking. At this scale, the bread already appears to be built around empty space. The solid material forms a loose framework that holds everything together. At 200 times magnification, the internal structure becomes more organized and easier to interpret. The air-filled cavities are now clearly defined with visible boundaries separating them from the surrounding material. The walls between these spaces appear thin and stretched, showing how the dough expanded as gases formed inside it. These walls are uneven in thickness, indicating that the expansion did not happen uniformly. At this level, it becomes clear that bread is not simply solid food, but a carefully formed balance between air and structure. Much of what we experience as softness comes from these microscopic empty spaces. At 800 times magnification, the bread's microstructure becomes highly detailed. The walls surrounding the air pockets are made up of countless tiny particles pressed together. The surface looks granular and textured rather than smooth. Small, rounded, and irregular formations appear throughout the material, adding complexity to the structure. At this scale, the bread resembles a dense microscopic network, where many small components combine to create strength while maintaining softness. This level reveals how bread can be both fragile and stable at the same time. At 2,000 times magnification, the structure fills the entire field of view and becomes almost abstract. The material appears highly fragmented and layered, with countless tiny, rounded, and irregular formations packed tightly together. Clear boundaries between micro-components are visible, showing how the structure is organized on a very small scale. Some areas look compact and dense, while others remain loose and porous, highlighting how uneven and complex bread truly is. At this level, the bread no longer resembles food at all. It appears as a microscopic environment shaped by heat, moisture, air, and time. What feels simple and familiar in everyday life is revealed as a carefully formed structure when viewed this closely. This is what bread looks like under the microscope. From a soft, familiar food to a complex, microscopic structure. You probably eat bread every day, but you never see it like this. If this video made you look at everyday food differently, support the channel by leaving a like. Write in the comments what you want to see next under the microscope. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more microscopic explorations of the hidden world around us.